I'm Lacey Fenton, and I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation for you today about my practicum experience through NATE. I did mine at the Leduc Recreation Center, and I just finished up about a week ago. Like I said, I did my practicum at the Recreation Center. It's a 309,000 square foot facility, and it is government owned. The facility is a central gathering place in the community of Leduc, and it provides many different leisure and recreational activities and complex opportunities. The facility offers 3 arenas, boarded and unboarded field houses, an aquatic pool, a curling rink fitness center, a track at the fitness center, program and meeting rooms, indoor playground, a child mining area, and youth educational centers, as well as there are spaces that you can lease within the fitness center. My supervisors for my practicum, mainly the supervisor that was signing off on all of my hours and everything and did my evaluations, her name is Justine Zimmerman. She is the head of the trainers at Leduc Recreation Center. She wasn't in there all the time when I was in there. She was in there, she worked about 8-hour days, so it depends when she came in. Sometimes she was there till 7, sometimes she was only in there till 4. It just depended on the day. So I seen her quite a bit, but she wasn't in there every time I was in there. So when she wasn't in there, there were other fitness attendants and trainers in there, so every day I went in, there was someone in there. And they would do walk-arounds and check in, kind of if I was training upstairs on the track, which is where I did most of my training, that they would come up and just make sure I didn't need anything and that I had all the equipment I needed. And they were there for any advice or tips. So afterwards, or even before, I could go down and talk to them, and they all had tips from their previous experience. Another thing, Justine would talk to my clients to make sure that they were getting everything they needed and that they were happy with the program I was offering. So on this slide, you can't see very well, so you have to look at the PowerPoint yourself, is my completed hours. So in total, I had 70 hours. 6 of these hours were shadowing other trainers. I tried to get a variety of different trainers so I could see different methods and motivation techniques and things like that. 5 of the hours were assessments and orientations. So for each of my clients, I did an assessment, and then I took them on orientation of the gym. And for one of the ladies, that's all I did was an orientation. And my total training hours, one-on-one, were 59. My duties and projects for this practicum. At the beginning, I had a hard time trying to figure out what I could do, so I sat down with the supervisor and we discussed it. So what I did is I wrote up an article and we put it on the Leduc Recreation website. This just kind of talks about glute activation, and many people, mainly ladies, who are trying to build their glutes, they fail at it because they don't understand the proper techniques and that you have to actually activate the muscle that you don't normally use from day to day. So that's what my article was about. The other things I did were basically helping out the training attendants. What I would do is I would do all of their, I would help them with their sort of thing, doing their rounds of the gym and the track and making sure everybody was paid for and had their wristbands on. There was no foul play or anything like that. And just making sure, and they would do counts on the track, so that sort of thing. So now I'm going to discuss my practicum clients. I'm going to go over 3 of the major ones. I think there were 6 of them. One of them was just for orientation. And then the other ones were just more of a basic, learning how to use a treadmill, learning how to use that sort of thing. Or they could only come for 2 weeks and then they'd take a couple weeks off. So I thought the ones that made the most progress would be the ones I would discuss. So my first one, I did 10 hours with her. She's a female, 42 years old. And I trained her for 6 weeks and about 2 days a week, whatever we could kind of plan, but we aimed for 2 days a week. Her goal was to build shoulder stability and to learn more of what she can do in the gym to stay active. She was already active like almost every day of the week. She swims, she curls, she plays baseball, She plays soccer. So she just wanted something to do kind of on her days off, and she had been coming to the gym, so she was just looking for this opportunity with me, just to kind of see different things that she can be doing to mix it up and keep it more exciting. The one problem I had with her is she had tennis elbow a couple years ago, and she had been working with doing physio for it, and if I have it, it's healed and everything, and she doesn't have problems with it. However, when she lifts heavy weight, once in a while it'll act up, so that's something I knew I had to watch for. And her tight shoulders. She thought from lack of using her elbow and movements like that. So that was what we were going to look at. So the assessments I did for her were the basic weight and height and BMI. So she was 130 pounds, 5'2", and her BMI was 23, which is a normal weight. Her resting heart rate was 76. Blood pressure was 118/83. Those are also good numbers. On her treadmill test, she got a 44.85, which is excellent condition. We also did push-up and one-leg stance, and both she was above mean and very good. At the end, when we did them, the push-ups were at 45, which is excellent. So she had definitely from 21 to 45 improved a lot. For her rep maxes, she went from shoulder raise was 8 pounds to 9 pounds. Her shoulder press was 16 to 28, which is a lot. Chest press, 35 to 46. Biceps, 32 to 34. And one arm bench row was 26 to 29. As you can see with those results, in her shoulder raises and her shoulder press, not so much her raises, but in her presses, she had a lot more mobility in her shoulders. We only worked for a couple of weeks, and she was able to go up more than 10 pounds on her rep maxes. So her program design consisted of a stability and strength mixed program. We did some interval training in there to keep up the intensity, as she had told me she liked the high intensity, fast-paced workout. I see her 2 days a week, and I tried to do a lower and upper body split with the 2 days a week. So to begin with, we always started with a stability and core movement to help her with those tight shoulders and her balance and coordination. We also incorporated weightlifting as the strength, as her goal was to become stronger and switch up her day-to-day exercises. So I tried to put in different exercises she had never heard of, different core movements instead of just doing sit-ups every day, different things she could do, such as core balance to an overhead press kind of thing to incorporate the shoulders and the core at the same time. As we seen, or as I said in the post-assessments, in just 6 weeks she was able to increase both of her strength and her stability by a great amount. So I had talked to her at the end, and she was going to keep up with kind of the workouts that we had been doing, and hopefully that would be able to help her through that. The report with this client was very energetic and positive. You could tell she had been in the gym, she was comfortable there, and she really, every time she got there, was really down to work out some anger or stress or whatever and get everything done. She really helped me as a trainer. I'm trying to find ways to help to motivate clients, as that's what I feel I lack. So she really helped me to, she told me kind of what extent I could motivate her to. So being that I struggled with that, she knew, and I had expressed that to her, and she said, don't be afraid of hurting my feelings or anything, really push me and really verbally cue me. So that helped, knowing that I didn't have to reserve and I could just test out different motivational ways with her. I believe this was a successful program. Her goals were accomplished, and she was able to increase that stability in her shoulders, and she definitely noticed, she was able to say how much she felt that she had improved, and she was definitely happy with the program. The second client I worked with for 15 hours. She was a female, and she was only 12 years old. I trained her for 9 weeks, and about 1 to 2 days, depending on our schedules, what we could do. She didn't really have a goal because of her age. She was only 12. But she was looking for new ways to get active. Her parents kind of brought her in. It was her parents' idea to get her started. And that was what we wanted to do. The one thing she did express to me was that she enjoyed weightlifting. So that's what I wanted to incorporate into the... As I was saying, this client was interested in weightlifting, which I know from my knowledge of the books and all of the course material that it's kind of tricky when dealing with kids, as they want to be strong and they want to lift lots of weight, but it can be dangerous if they lift too much at a time. So I thought this would be an interesting program to design. Because she wasn't in any sports or anything, she wasn't physically active. You could notice this from talking to her. She really had no ambition to be in sports or to run or anything like that. So I knew that I would have to do a lot of motivating in order to keep her interested. So another thing I found kind of hard was doing assessments for her, because most of the assessments, they don't start until they are 15 years old, and that's kind of where the assessments begin. So I kind of had to not make them on my own, but change them up a little bit. So I did her weight and I did her height and her BMI, and her BMI was normal. However, looking at this kid, I would make the assumption as a trainer that she was a little bit overweight, and she could definitely use some physical activity. You could tell by talking to her, she's the type of kid who just liked to sit at home and play video games, and didn't do a whole lot outside. So I did her resting heart rate and her resting blood pressure, and there were 72 and then 116/76, which were good numbers. We then did a push-up test, and she got 10, which is poor. However, she is a young kid, so I didn't want to judge too much on that. And she could not complete a sit-up. I tried cueing her and stuff, and we couldn't successfully do a sit-up. By the end of our training, she was able to do 15 push-ups. Her form had increased greatly, like she was way better at them. And she could complete 20 sit-ups in a row, easy, not a problem. Once we started learning how to properly engage her core, she learned, and that was easy for her to do. So for her program, I did an interval and strength endurance training, kind of keep her interested, the fast pace to get it over with quick, and then do the weights after. I tried to keep the weights out of the cardio portion so that she had something to look forward to and work towards. Again, I did an upper and lower body split because of the 2 days a week. I tried to incorporate weights into every workout because that's what she was interested in, and that's why she was looking forward to coming to the gym. With a kid, I found that you had to change things up every day, every week. You couldn't do the same movement very often because they get bored with that. It was amazing to see the progress in coordination with her. To start off with, when I first tried to get her to do a box jump, she couldn't take off with 2 feet or land with 2 feet, so it was always a one thing, and even when she tried, it still left like that. So by the end, she was easy to do. It was very easy for her to do box jumps, so it was a great experience going through that with her. Also, coordination is a big thing with kids at this age, so just encouraging her. She felt really silly lots because she couldn't do things and she knew she should be able to. So trying to praise her and pick out the good and encourage her to keep trying was very detrimental to this program design. It was awesome to hit a little milestone. So with her, because she didn't have a goal, we tried to make little goals, like trying to do a sit-up by the end. And she did 20, so that was a good goal. She surpassed it big time. And same thing with her push-ups. We didn't put push-ups into the workout ever because I knew that she would get stressed. Instead, we did it as a skill before some workouts. And I cued her on how to keep, your back straight and everything throughout the process. The rapport with this client changed a lot. Some days she would come in and she would feel very down and like she didn't want to be there. Like a kid, she was tired after school, she had a bad day, she was stressed, she didn't want to be there. So those are the days where I really, as a trainer, had to pick it up. I had to really encourage her no matter how my day had gone, really make her feel welcome and like she wanted to be there. For my last client, this was I don't want to say the best client, but she progressed the most and she made the most improvement on herself. She was a female, 30 years old, and I trained her for 10 weeks, 2 to 3 days a week, so I trained her the most out of everybody. And her goal was to continue losing weight as well as build muscle. She, coming to me, had already lost 40 pounds just by changing her eating habits, and she was ready to change her lifestyle and start working out and lose more of that weight. She was going to come see me 3 days a week and train on her own at home when we couldn't meet, as her husband already had a home gym, so it was perfect setup for her. She had no injuries and was looking forward to starting, so this was good. It didn't take much to get her there. She hadn't worked out much in the past. She said she had lifted a couple weights once in a while with her husband, not a whole lot. And she enjoyed strength and weight training way more than any other type, of course. So with that, I tried to explain to her that we could incorporate the weights into the cardio, so it would help her lose weight, and to keep up the more reps would also be a better program for her. So for this assessment, we did quite a few. Her weight and height, her weight was 190 pounds and her height was 5'7", sorry, and her BMI was 29.6, which is overweight. By the end, on her post-assessments, her weight was 175 pounds, down 15 pounds, and her BMI was 27.4, still in the overweight, but it had dropped a lot. Her resting heart rate was 81, and her blood pressure was 123/81. Her treadmill test, at the beginning, she got a 22, which is poor, and at the end, we got a 32, which is 32.1. It wasn't much of an improvement, but it was still definitely improvement. Her push-ups, when we started, she could only do 4, and the form was pretty rocky. At the end, she could do 10, and I believe she could have done more. However, we had done other assessments before, and it kind of hindered it a little bit. At the beginning, we did a one-leg stance. She had great balance. She was above mean on both eyes open and eyes closed. For the rep maxes, I'm going to compare. To start off with, her shoulder raises were 12, and we ended it at 14. Bent over row went from 40 to 57, so that was a lot in the back muscles. One arm bench row went from 30 to 33. Shoulder press, 30 to 34. Bicep curls, 46, and it stayed at 46. This one I tried to explain to her because it is such a small muscle body, it just takes a little bit longer to grow and build. Tricep extensions went from 23 to 33, so that was a lot. That had a lot to do with form and doing the movement properly. For chest press, it went from 46 to 57, and again, form. A lot of it had to do with form. Once she learned that form, she was able to up that max big time. So her program design was an interval and strength endurance training as well. We started off more with the intervals, so we would do the aerobic interval training and put some weights in there. And then afterwards, we would focus more on form and weightlifting and sets. For her, I did a chest back day, shoulder tricep bicep day, and a lower body day. So to start off with, I changed her program quite a bit, so this is the one where I had modifications. To start off with, we did more of, like I said, circuit or interval training, and then did a little bit of weights and focused on form afterwards. And then once she got better form and she was reaching those goals, the last couple weeks we turned it into more of just a strength endurance. So she would do 6 movements in a day and about 3 sets and 10 reps at about 50 to 75% of her 1 rep max. So at the beginning of her training, we were doing about 30 minutes of aerobic, and then as we got finished, it was more of a 15 to 20, depending on which session. The reason I dropped the aerobic was because she was doing aerobic on her own, and as we talked, she would rather her time spent with me being weightlifting and learning new movements and how to do them properly, as opposed to running around a track or running on a treadmill, because she knows how to do that herself. So that's why we changed that up. So the report with this client was amazing. She continues to stay in contact with me and let me know how she's doing, and if she has any questions or needs any extra movements, or she forgot things, or how much she should be doing. She was very motivated. I found her very easy to uplift. She worked off of my positive criticism very well. If I would critique her form or anything, she was right there trying to fix it. She wasn't angry ever or anything like that. She was a very good client to have, especially for a practicum to experience. She worked very hard, and I really hope that I can work with this client again sometime. Alright, last I'm just going to talk about a few other things. So a few challenges that I found at this Practicum site or doing my Practicum was that at the LRC, most of their personal training is upstairs around the track. On the corners they have little areas for personal training. And as a trainer, it was really hard to find space all the time because if there's classes going on, you can't be around the classes. I made it work, but if I could change anything, I would make more rooms or use the rooms that were open as training spaces. I also didn't find that there was a lot of guidance or availability to ask questions. There were always attendants there, but not all the attendants were trainers. So if I needed something or I had a question, there wasn't always somebody there. I could always, however, email Justine if I had questions or needed anything, but it would have been a little bit nicer to kind of have a trainer around more often. Also, a challenge that I find myself, not so much with the center, is motivation. And I know that, and I have been critiqued on that on my evaluations. I can tell when I'm training, and I'm just still trying to learn what to say and when to say it and how to push someone in the right way. I did, however, learn a lot from shadowing other trainers and seeing the different ways that they motivate their clients. The successes that I found during this experience were that all of my clients were amazing and dedicated, and I didn't have a problem getting them there. All the staff at the LRC was very fun and energetic. When you, before or after your sessions, they were always joking around and making it a fun atmosphere to be at. I also learned so much about how I can motivate and inspire clients. I know I have further to go and there's more to learn, but I feel like I have improved throughout this experience. I was able to help each client reach their goals. None of my clients fell short of their goals, so that was good, and they all feel great afterwards. They all seem satisfied with our program, and I also learned new techniques and different programming styles by watching other trainers, and even when I was training, if there was groups around, you could kind of observe as you were training. Lastly, I'm going to rate my professional performance. On communication, I rated myself an 8 out of 10. The reason I did this is because I believe I am very good at communicating with my clients, and I am very friendly and outgoing. The only reason I didn't give myself a 10 was because I feel like I do have room for improvement in the motivation area of things. Information gathering, I also gave myself an 8. I believe that all the information I gathered was appropriate and helpful in designing the program. I do wish I would have done a few more assessments, and I wish there would have been a few more, a little more equipment available to me, such as a grip strength and things like that. Exercise demonstration, I give myself a 9 out of 10. I believe I do know the exercises very well, and I can perform them all, so cueing and demonstrating to a client, I can do it in the right way and help them to understand. The only reason I didn't give a 10 again was because I do believe there is room to expand my knowledge. Things are always changing, and I know there are more exercises out there for me to learn. Punctuality and availability, I give myself a 7. I'm a very punctual person. I'm always early for everything. The reason I didn't put a 10 out of 10 and I left those 3 marks was due to availability. Just because I had a job and I wasn't able to train most mornings, and I think if I would have been able to, I could have gotten more clients and more hours. So last one is knowledge, and I gave myself an 8 out of 10. I feel that I'm knowledgeable with everything I was doing, program design, proper assessments and everything like that. However, the industry is always changing, and there's probably so much more for me to learn, and I can't wait to get started on that. But I do, however, feel that my clients did learn a lot from training with me. So that is my PowerPoint. It was a great experience at the LRC, and I would definitely recommend it to other kids.